and let's chat with the man himself right now. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well, Andy. How are you doing, man?
Man, it's all good. It's all good up in here. So, Ben Knight, man, first time you've been on HopeJamz, and I'm guessing probably the first time you've been on UK radio. Is that about right?
Not the first time, but one of the few. I do have a few fans across the pond, so this is fun.
Nice one, man. Man. So give us a bit of a more in-depth introduction, man, of like who you are for those guys that don't know you.
Sure. Well, I've been in the music business a while. Kind of started out more like a punk rocker back in the day. A lot of kind of influenced by Sex Pistols, the Ramones, the Clash, that kind of stuff, and then kind of got into more rock and roll. And then, a few years ago, I heard of a Nerdcore artist by the name of MC Lars, which for anybody listening, Nerdcore is kind of like, it's just basically hip hop, but you kind of talk about, for instance, like that song My New DeLorean is kind of a backhanded way of talking about Back to the Future, but putting myself into it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of talking about nerdy topics, Star Wars, Star Trek, Back to the Future, whatever, but putting it to hip-hop. But anyway, I heard MC Lars, and I was just like, I really like this. It's a guy who's taking the music and the production seriously, but he's not, rapping about, his, some songs maybe, but not really rapping a lot about, his past or where he came from. Or, you kind of, once you've heard one rap song, I mean, let's kind of be honest, you've kind of heard the same story, but just told, a couple hundred different ways from different artists. So I was just like, that's kind of cool. I want to kind of rap about, and me being more of the Caucasian persuasion, I don't really have like I don't want to come across as like a hard nosed, like, I'm from the hood, because I'm not. I'm from Southern Indiana, and I'm kind of a dorky guy in a way, so I don't try to sound like a rapper. But anyway, long story short, I just kind of got into this genre, and it's kind of a niche genre, especially in the Christian world. There are very few nerdcore artists. The only thing kind of similar to that would be like KJ52. But no, I don't know, man. Like, it just kind of, it started resonating with me, and more people seem to kind of be coming on board. So that's just where I'm at.
Yeah, man, that's really cool. I mean, for me personally, it was the first time, like, when you told me this week, when I first met you this week, Nerdcore, for me, I'd never heard of it before. And I was like, okay, what's that? But I kind of got it straight away. But it's definitely different, and it's a cool thing, like you said, I think, because, realistically, a lot of these guys, especially if they do come from the hood, they talk about that. When that gets old, they don't really know what else to talk about. So therefore, what do you talk about? If you can't kind of just if you can't broaden your horizons, I guess, and most rappers are just, they're in life, so there's always something to talk about. But if there isn't that, then what do you talk about? But for you, like you said, like that, even that can get old. So why not do something completely different? And you have interests, I guess, in like I don't know where to say, like sci-fi or something. So it kind of works good, I guess.
Well, exactly. And one of the things is, it's like, for me personally, like, they say good art and good music has to be made out of pain and out of anguish. And like, I completely disagree. Like, for me, as people can probably tell from that last track, like, a lot of my stuff is pretty happy, pretty poppy. And that's just because, like, I mean, I'm at a point where, I'm a husband, I'm a dad, I've got two beautiful babies. I've got a 2-year-old girl and a 6-year-old boy. And like, my life is good, man. Like, I have no real, like, even if things were falling apart around me, like, I just feel like, life is just too good to be, putting that kind of stuff out there. Like, I don't need to be hard or tough or like talk about all the stuff that's going wrong. It's like, no, man, let's celebrate life. Let's just get like some joy out there, man, and just let people enjoy themselves. So I don't know. That's just kind of the route I've always taken.
Yeah, man. Well, I think it's a good thing. I think it works good. I mean, obviously we've got 2 other tracks to showcase tonight, and they're both, well, no, one of them is definitely towards that theme. I mean, the title is To Boldly Go to a Galaxy Far, Far Away. So obviously that's something similar. The other one is not, but obviously even I'm guessing there's something in there which is still nerdcore, am I right?
Oh, totally. And actually it's kind of a weird, so with this song, like, and this is kind of a very outdated stereotype, but there used to be, back in the day, you had Star Trek fans and you had Star Wars fans, and like, there seemed to be this weird thing where you couldn't like both. You were either a fan of one or a fan of the other. And that's kind of an outdated thing now, but I thought, what would be really fun for me is to do a track where, well, originally it was supposed to be kind of a, for lack of a better, like, like a rock opera where it was going to be 3 structures where, like it started at like a Comic-Con and like, the Star Trek fan and the Star Wars fan got into it and it ended up being this huge war. And then, by the third act, they kind of just wrap it up and they're like, you know what, maybe we can coexist, and this is all good. So, but I was just like, that's a long, people may not really get into that. Like, that's a long time talking about Star Wars and Star Trek and this fictional war. So I thought, let's just boil it down to one song. And I want to get another artist to come on here with me and just kind of be, the opposite side. Now, I don't really know much about Star Trek. So I had, well, I wouldn't consider him a friend, but I would consider him a brother just in this genre. But I had Megaran, he's pretty big. I'd put him in the top 5 all-time Nerdcore guys, but he was really nice enough to come on and we just kind of go back and forth as, 2 fans of their genre, and then we just kind of come together and go, you know what, it's all good. I think we can both like what we like and just kind of coexist. But it was just kind of a fun way of just saying, if we're going to boil it down to realism, it was just kind of saying like, look, you can like whatever you want to like, and we can all coexist, and there's no problem.
Yeah, man, I know what you're saying, because I remember back in the day there was like, I think there probably still is now, there's like your Trekkies against your, whatever they call themselves, the Star Wars bunch, but it's like almost like a war going on, wasn't there?
And it's funny because, like, this is probably where, if anybody's listening that likes this stuff, this is probably where they're going to shut it off, but I've never been, like, a huge fan of either. Like, I can appreciate both of them for what they are. Like, I've still, the new Star Trek movie is out, and, like, I can see all over Facebook and social media, like, everybody's like, I just went and saw The Last Jedi, it's amazing. And you got people that are like, no, it sucked. And I'm just like, maybe I'll see it if it comes, once it's out on DVD or whatever. But it's just kind of one of those things where, like, we're so passionate about.
I think actually, man, I think that shows how much you like it or don't like it, because I think it's a Star Wars. You said it's a Star Trek.
Yeah, exactly. So it's one of those things where it's just like we're all so passionate about the things we like that it's almost weird. Like, if you tell somebody, like, I really like this, and they're like, really? I don't like it. Then all of a sudden there's this weird, like, it just got weird at that moment, because they're like, well, how could you not like this? It's amazing. And you're like, no, how do you like it? It's not amazing,
Yeah.
But it's all, music, movies, all any kind of art, it's all subjective. So, yeah, for me it was just like, you know what? Let's just all like what we like.
Yeah, man, and it works. It's all good anyway, so it's a funky thing for you to do, and kind of takes me back to last week when I had this guy called Riffica. I was playing his tune. It actually stands for something. I can't remember right now what it means, but his name means something. But he had this, his sound to his music was like something different. It was hip-hop, but it was like funky soul, jam kind of music with hip-hop, and it was dope. And so, like, nerdcore, being kind of nerdy hip-hop is the same thing, but it's something, it's not like, ooh, it's like, no, that's really good, It's something different, and anything different in the scene right now I think is good, because hip-hop's hip-hop. It's a language, it's a culture, but it's good to see how people like you are actually using it in a different way to actually, bring out a new sound. I think it's a good thing.
Well, and I think you're right. Like, I think with hip-hop and rap in general, like, very little of it has to do with the music. It's all about, it's a poetry, it's cramming a lot of words and telling a story in a very short amount of time. For me, I kind of focus more. I'm a musician, so I kind of focus more on trying to make, I try to make the choruses catchy. I try to make, the music just as fun as the lyrics. So, I can see where if you're somebody out there that really likes, really heartfelt lyrics and, like, real storytelling, there's probably a chance you're not going to love what I do. If you're just kind of into some of the dorky stuff that I sing about, whether it's Harry Potter, Star Wars, whatever, maybe you'll be into it. And then, like, if you're just a fan of just poppy music, then you're probably just going to be like, all right, I'll give it a listen. So, and I realize that this is a niche genre. I mean, how many times can you listen to a song about Harry Potter? Some people you can listen to it 1,000 times. Sometimes you listen to it once and you go, okay, I've heard it. I get it.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's how it's going to be. But I guess you could make a tune about every single kind of nerdy movie that comes out, but I guess it'd probably get quite old. But I mean, you kind of mix the both, I guess.
Yeah, totally.
I was just going to ask you, man, what's the scene like in North Dakota for music?
Well, so for a while, I actually did tour in a rock band for a few years, and playing bass and singing backup. And we rarely ever we were kind of based in Fargo, North Dakota, and there was never really a huge scene. There's definitely a lot of, I think, with just anywhere, especially rural. North Dakota is more of a rural, farm state. So, there's a lot of good things that come from that. One being there's not a lot to do. There's not like clubs or venues or tons of things for people to do and young people to do. So, if you've got a sound system and you're in a band, and you just show up in a middle of nowhere town, people come out of the woodwork. They're like, oh my gosh, something to do,
Yeah.
And so, I wouldn't say there's much of a scene. I live kind of near Minot, North Dakota, which is, again, I kind of live out in the middle of nowhere, which has its advantages. It's great if you don't like living in a city, but it's a bummer if you want to get a slice of pizza at 1 o'clock in the morning because you're not going to get one. No, music scene-wise, there's not a lot here. You kind of have to go to, you'd have to drive a few hours to get to the bigger cities and bigger venues. But, for me, I just, I'm kind of getting to that point now where, I love writing music. I love getting it out there. And luckily for me, I've had a pretty good following of people that they kind of wait for me to put out new stuff and they buy it, and that's super cool. Because I don't really tour as much as I would like to. No, but overall, music scene here, not huge. What about your neck of the woods? Is it a pretty good music scene there?
Yeah, man, the UK scene here is popping at the moment. It's getting a lot bigger. I'm actually in the current era right now. I'm actually making a list of the UK rap scene to show how big it is, to showcase the size of it, because a lot of people don't realise how big it is. So yeah, man, at the moment it's doing a lot of things. I think it just requires a lot of people here, a lot of the rappers here, they don't have the ideas of how to push their music, or they kind of need a helping hand, But there definitely is a scene there. It just needs to kind of upgrade itself, really.